Welcome back to the Artificial DM. So for today, I'm bringing you guys two stories. One of which is a pretty short story, but a good one. Let's jump into it. Into r/RPG horror stories. This story is from the user JJFury97. That time when a bored player decided to kill the main NPC and then says, "LOL," and never plays again. So everyone probably knows about the infamous do nothing and not pay attention until it's their turn and do something funny guys. Well, I had a player like that. He would just sit on his phone and wait for his turn in combat. After a long session, we finally got to the location of my character's father, who was the main point of this campaign, and the main aspect of my character's backstory. The bored player then proceeded to perk up upon hearing that we had found this character. After some touching dialogue I had with my father, I found out he has been used as a magic font and tortured for days. After we have some catching up and explanation as to the party and rescue mission, this guy says, "I roll to scalp him." I immediately say no and roll to stop him, as per the DM's rules. He beats me by one number, scalps the character, killing him and stealing his scalp, and then leaves for the night. The entire table laughs and applauds him, besides me and one of my friends. To which I ask why he would do that, and the entire group just shrugged and said, "I don't know, but it was hilarious," including the DM. After trying to talk to the bored player and ask why he did it, he responded with, "Nah, no apologies. I thought it would be funny, and it was." Anytime I brought this up to him, he would just say it was funny. He thought it was fitting for the story, or that it's what his character would have done. None of these were true. It was one of the worst D&D experiences I've ever had, and I still don't allow that guy. Now, this story, oddly enough, I can totally understand why the bored player was bored and wanted to cause a stir. The poster is talking about their father, who's a background character, being the quote-unquote main NPC. I don't know the background of the story. It very well could have been the main NPC. But it would have been interesting had that player worked something out with the DM ahead of time and said, "Oh, I'm sabotaging the party. I'm going to kill this NPC." But the way that the rest of the table responded where, "Oh, it was funny, it was great," that is where it sounds like the storyteller really wanted a serious campaign, and the other players may have wanted just more of a jokey time. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. This story is from user CA Game. Because of course it can't be fun if it's serious, and women can't be big bad evil guys. I've been building an imaginary world for years, but it was a world only in my mind. So I decided to DM a D&D campaign with this world and its lore. I invited 3 friends and my little brother. Then, the nightmare begins. Session -1. Before Session 0, they spend some time trying to understand the rules and deciding what kind of character they wanted to be. Session 0. Player 1, the most mature, decided that he didn't want to choose between a warrior, fighter, and a mage. So he wanted a mix of both. At this time, I didn't know that Eldritch Knight was a thing, and I didn't know the existence of the game Arcane Knight, so I improvised a class that I called Arcane Knight. Then, I made it better and better until it felt like an actual class. Player 2, the most childish, made an old mage that is a little bit of a pervert. He never stopped mentioning not suitable for work stuff, and wanted to make a collection of underwear of people he killed. Player 3, my 10-year-old brother, is obsessed with Lord of the Rings and made an elf ranger named Legolas. Player 4 never showed up after session -1. He never made a character, never called me, and never answered my calls. I have never even seen him again. First problem. None of them made a backstory and didn't want to make one. So session 1 was on the same day as session 0. Session 1. They hear screaming from a barricaded house. They head inside, fight some bandits, and loot the corpse of a dead woman. These were mercenaries that were hired to kill the adventurers that lived there. Player 1 and 2 go into the bedroom and ask if there was sex toys.
Because there was a woman.
No, why the floop would there be? This is not suitable for work, and my 10-year-old brother is at the table. Edit. Apparently sex toys did exist in the Middle Ages, but that's not the point. They stop in front of a half-open door. They take a peek before deciding what to do. You see 3 orcs, one with darker skin and white war painting, speaking to a man with a goblin by his side.
I kicked the door open, pulled on my pants, and I began twerking,
said the mage. Yeah, the mage. The one that should not be in front during the battle, because no armor? After asking him a lot of times, if he really wanted to do this, because it was stupid and dangerous, he still did not change his mind. So there are 5. They get a bonus because it's from behind, and since you got no armor. The dice gods were in his favor, because they really didn't roll well. He still fell on 2 HP though. The fight begins. The party is victorious, though it was a tough one. They empty the house and go to a tavern. After a few sessions of fighting necromancers, they learn that the mercs were hired by a cult of necromancers. They inform the king and were on their way to raid the cult's fort. They find a lone guard explaining that he's late and that the Legion is already waiting for them at the fort. The mage doesn't believe him, though he didn't roll an insight check and cast Fireball. Good work, guys. You killed a guard. A real guard. He was not some smart necromancer trying to lure you away to kill you. He was innocent, and his armor melted, so you can't take it. Hey, that's actually pretty clever. I'm going to use that in some of my games, because that's pretty nifty. During all the cinematics, times I monologue to describe what is happening, they don't listen to me. Instead, they look at their phone, and sometimes interrupt me to speak to each other about things out of the game. Except my brother. He's really into the story. The raid begins, and there are no survivors, other than the party, the cult leader, and 2 necromancers and a single paladin. The cult leader points his ebony staff at the sky, and the amethyst on the end starts glowing. Every corpse rises with glowing purple eyes. The 2 necromancers start screaming as they melt and their flesh and skin turns into goo. The 2 skeletons fuse to create a 2.5 meter tall 4-armed skeleton.
Hey! That's just like the scene in Stranger Things Season 3! You literally copied it!
Said player 1. No, dude. I didn't tell you because you wouldn't have listened, but I wrote this scene before Season 3 was even announced. Plus, except the flesh turning into goo part, this has nothing to do with Stranger Things. Then the undead fall again. You all look at this leader, and a dagger is pierced through his skull. A cloaked figure comes out from the shadows and stabs him again before breaking his neck. The party starts cheering, "We were saved, blah blah, it's a hero, blah blah," until I tell them that the figure removes her hood to reveal a dark-haired lady. Then they start complaining.
How can a woman be more powerful than us? It's unfair that she can one-shot an enemy but not us. You're such a feminist.
Yeah, that was meant as an insult. The woman casts an invisibility spell and gets away. I describe how the paladin was a veteran who killed countless undead, even some demons and a dragon, but that he was terrified at the sight of this woman. Then it gets worse.
He's such a coward for fearing a woman.
She's overpowered. That's not fair. So that you can understand, she was meant to be an outcast vampire, once a vampire queen, at least level 8. I wanted this game to last years, and have a lot of bosses and big bad evil guys, and she was supposed to be a major one, even if I already planned others more powerful than her. I don't remember what I did to make them stop complaining, but I did it. Then I decided to make them run into a traveling merchant, so that they could buy and sell what they wanted or didn't want. You know what they did? They thought the prices weren't good enough, so they tried to kill him to take his stuff and money, even though every item is the same price for every single merchant. Then I said, "You put everything you can in your bags, but you're over-encumbered," and his pack mules ran away. "You can't walk because it's too heavy. Also, it's been a few days since you ate or drank anything, so your strength is reduced. You'll die if you don't eat in the next 4 in-game days."
You crapping me? We need to eat? And to pay for food? Flip that! I won't eat.
Fine. You'll just die of starvation, I said with the most neutral and emotionless tone I could, to indirectly tell him I didn't care anymore. Player 1's parents parked their car in front of my house a few seconds later, so he went home and we stopped the session there. I never invited, called, or saw them again, and I never tried to DM anything after that. It probably isn't as bad as other things on this sub, but this was a disaster for me. So I know that normally I side with OP when it comes to a lot of these RPG horror stories, but for some of this, it sounds as if the Dungeon Master is actually at fault for a few things. When it comes to creating your story, you have to be open to allowing your players to be involved and able to manipulate your world for the better or for the worse. We Dungeon Masters have to remember that just because you have a cool story, to you, doesn't mean that your players are going to enjoy it. That doesn't mean that there were no grievances done by the players, and you gotta remember that for every action that takes place, there has to be a reaction. I actually like how the DM used the fireball on the guard to melt the armor, because it sounds like he was just dealing with a bunch of murder hobos. Anyway, those are just my thoughts. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. If you want to hear more stories just like this, don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button for me. Until next time, hope you feel inspired.